you look at all these examples, what we discussed, maybe all that point what you said is more relevant to accelerate your career. But to add to that, there are two more which can be included. One is problem solver. You should be a powerful problem solver. And most of these guys who have accelerated and reached that place is by solving problems. And in a way, they have been given that position to solve a problem, whether it's Chandrasekhar or whether it's Sundar Pichai or any senior leader. The ability to solve problem is something what everybody have to pick up, and you should be seen as someone who can create solution for problem thrown at you, right? That's one. Number two, ability to take risk, right? And many firms, they wanted their employees to be like entrepreneurs, ability to take risk. And when I was explaining to a group of students, they said they pay me a salary like employee and they wanted to be like an entrepreneur. If that is the case, I would have had my own startup, right? So I mean, keeping that aside, if you have an ability to take risk, I think you will be shouldered with much more bigger responsibility, and that can accelerate you faster in the organization. Okay. So of course, yes, all these great leaders or the whoever had an accelerated path had a same JD what was shown to others as well, right? There was a job description and others followed and they also followed. But when they follow the job description, they were identified, they created a visibility, and they had an accelerated path compared to those peer group who never had, right? So of late, right, youngsters in specific, need not to be MBA student, any youngster, whenever they onboard to a job, they are very particular about what is my job description, and they wanted to be within the job description, and they also are very sensitive about the kind of time and resource they could commit for the organization, and they are very much worried about their own personal work-life balance, and they are also very much worried about what is the rigor and intensity required for the organization, and they are very very particular and calculative about it. I just wanted to know from you, some of these leaders who have accelerated the path, is it that they would have sticked on to just the JD and just they would have done what is required for the role if they would have had this accelerated path at all?
So maybe just to start, I would say, correlation is, your hunger is equivalent to your growth. How hungry you are is, very important in terms of what growth you want to, get. And obviously, right, it is beyond job description, right? So job description, gives you a starting point, right? This is what you're going to be doing. But if you're hungry, right, and if you're curious, right, if you want to go above and, really make a mark and go beyond, then you have to work beyond, right? And also one more thing, right, as you talked about problem solving, right? There's one important aspect is a good leader, right, or good person who has grown. They always will have an amazing coach, right, who gives them a mirror, a reflection, not mentoring, but a coach. Because at times, as leaders, we might have some blind spots, right? And you need that coaching. Let's say, if we take example of a cricketer like Sachin Tendulkar, the god of cricket, right? How many coaches do you have? How many coaches do you have for the offside, the leg side? He has different coaches, right? And that is where the best of you comes out. If you don't have the coach, right? If you want to really grow, you have to go and ask for that mentorship. And it could be anybody, and people might say no, but you have to stay, focused. And it could be, let's say tomorrow I go to him, right? I need coaching. Can you coach me, right? If she says no, okay, that's fine, but he will say yes, right? He might say no, but he will say yes. So you have to be, consistent, and it's, failure doesn't define it, right? So if let's say in a particular job description you have failed, it's okay, right? Go and try something new. So those are the important aspects as well, for every person who's starting afresh, that they have to go beyond their roles.
I have a take on this. My daughter is 22 and she's stepping into the job world now. So when I stepped into the job world, going back around 3 decades, job was not entering my life because BlackBerry was not yet invented. Today, when somebody is coming in, they know that 24/7 they are being tracked and traced, which puts themselves in the so-called anxious generation, because everything is on social media. Their job friends, their work friends, they are not able to differentiate life to give them credit. So some of it, what they are doing, I think is, when I say they, I mean our younger generation that is coming in to the work in terms of getting that mental space. And I mean, there have been so many experiments when you say why switching off works. I think it matters. What I think matters even more is not looking for the job description, but the purpose of the outcome and being bought into it. And in that, I completely agree with what Karan said. I would say for the people who are getting into the work, as much as it is the legs, I would say the 3 H's: head, heart and hands. This is Jim Quick, as he puts it. So head, heart and hands. Your effort should go along with a complete belief that you are doing it for the right purpose, making sure you put in the best your best thinking, your analytical skills, your problem solving skills, everything that you have on the table, and looking at every nerve that is out there in your grey matter, bringing it to the table. And when you are working, put it there. I mean, job descriptions will be there. The other thing I would really think will matter for a lot of younger people is definitely coaching, but respecting that mentoring, because a lot of breaking rules is very fashionable in, I think, across generations, but much more so with the present generation, which is super globalized, and they completely know, because even when we were following our parents, we knew their context was not as different as between our kids and us. Because when I look at what my daughter texts, I make sure I Google everything so that I don't ask her. There's GG, there is ROFL, there is every kind of
Sir, he might
language
see
that
the
comes
video
in.
also.
Huh?
She might see your
Oh,
video.
I am comfortable. She knows we share this. But the reality of the world is their world has moved and is moving, because you look at the difference. Because I've got a kid who's Gen Alpha, one who's whatever 2000 to 2015, the Gen Z. So the difference between them, I can see, is quite stark because of the pace of change in the world. So it's, I think it's right for them to some extent to make sure that they switch off and, our 24/7, because their 24/7 can be much more torturous, because they are living in a information overloaded world, which from an information deficit world where we came in, and information was power when we started working. These days, everything, to the point that was there in the previous debate, if a company does something wrong, you could be an analyst, but by, like yesterday, Galgotia University, till yesterday nobody knew about it. Today everybody knows, and I'm sure there are excellent students who are studying in Galgotia or any college, it doesn't matter. I mean, once something goes wrong, everybody knows. So I think it's important we let the newcomers switch off, but it's also important that they are humble and bought into the cause of what they are working with their head, hand and heads, and look at somebody who has that vision, who is walking in that direction and bringing in. That's my 2 cents.
What I feel is, going back to forward, when we started our journeys, we were just starting with self-sustaining as a platform. We needed a job. Doesn't mind the description. In finance, anything I'm really willing to do, even from writing registers, okay? If you look at, then we moved on, dependent, independent, interdependent, and self-actualization. That was our journey, where we are at self-actualization now. But if you look at the present generation, the first 2 layers are already fulfilled for them. They don't have to work for self-sustaining. They are much more than that. Of course, there's a range of society which still needs that. They will not ask for job description. They're happy to get a job. But amongst the other layer, there are 2 things which they look. They look at for their passion. They want to find out organizations where their liking is being served. They would like to, let's say, if there are the premier institutes, they will want to work in premier organizations. They will not go for anything else as a compromise. So there are types of younger generation which decide on where they want to work, because they like the culture. The organizations give them a status, a brand. There's another set of people, again, who will look at the job description. Because now they have got the basics, they have the comfort of waiting to get the job. So they will emphasize, they'll ask the right questions, what is my progress, etc., etc. But yet I think the current generation, as rightly said, is so much exposed, and there's so much of competitive spirit at any stage in life. After they have started working, they start re-evaluating themselves as to, am I doing right? Am I in the right role? Was my job description right? So they have so many questions to themselves, and I think this is more driven by too much available at a very easy pace, and they're not able to figure out exactly what is it that if I were to ask them, okay, tell me what is the JD that you want, I'm willing to give you a job. I don't think they'll be able to say, I want to do this job. So they're confused at some point in time. So giving them any job description at this point will not excite them for beyond the time. They want next, and they want next. That's what I realize.
Their self-actualization comes much
Comes
before
much
our
more
scale.
faster. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to make one more quick point, Professor. I think these are incredible discussions happening. And I'll take a step back from the JD. I think an education specialization also should not bring about insularity, in the sense that you have to be very open and flexible. I have done only I have studied in marketing. I have done my major in marketing, hence I will not take a sales job. Is a classic one that I've always seen. I think education and specializations are definitely important because they build a specific expertise in you, they build a core in you, and it is very important to have that backbone. So to that extent, the specialization is important. But if you look at folks who have spent 20, 30 years in the corporate world and you ask them what are they doing compared to what they studied and what they specialized in, you'll probably be surprised with the answers. And they did it because they realized that beyond the core, as you progress in your career, maybe you start liking something far more. Maybe you realize that you have an affinity for something that you had not even thought about when you were studying. So the broader point I want to make is that specializations are good, but over a period of time, don't be very insular in your approach and say that I will only do this because this is what I've studied. Because the world is full of opportunities and it's a very fast-paced, changing world where you have to adapt.